All right, so this is part two, carrying on from what I was just saying about the music thing. So I think sort of that, all that sort of thing carried in. I finished school and I went to a business college, and that wasn't really for me. I got expelled from that. But so this is what I'm saying, right? I think a lot of the things that happened to me when I was a kid, where I sort of, or maybe didn't happen to me, you know, like where I was kind of shielded a lot, and I didn't really get much of a chance to go out and live my life as an early teenager. Because when I got to the age of 18, my mum and dad were just like, do what you like now. Like, that was it. I could just literally, I could go out, and I did. I went out all the time. I was that kid that would warm up my roast dinner at 11 o'clock on a Sunday night, you know? Like, never was in. I was never in. Like, every opportunity I did, I got out of the house because I just hated being there, to be honest. And that was the reason I hated being there, is because it wasn't a particularly nice environment for me at the time. I didn't get on with my family that well. You know, I think I kind of grew up with this general feeling that I wasn't good enough. And all these things, I'm still sticking with the social anxiety thing, right? Because I think all these things, what they did was they didn't exactly help me build a firm base of confidence, right? So I didn't really have a lot of belief in myself. So when it came to being in situations where I could be social, I always used to watch everybody else and think, why is he so funny? Why is everyone laughing at him? Why do all the girls go for that guy? Why is everybody like rallying around him when he's got a problem, and yet they ignore me? So I used to feel like almost like the invisible man. And I think that goes back, like, as far as I can remember. I think I came up with the concept of Big Brother when I was about 7. I used to think, if the whole world could see me now, how could I be a person that everyone would like? And I used to think like that all the time. And it's definitely an aspect that has made me good at doing the job like this, because I have always been the sort of person who I just, you know, I learn, I watch and learn how people are, and I kind of take people in, and I try to understand, why did they feel like that and they didn't? And because I was that guy, I wasn't a part of it. I was a watcher, you know. I was like on the sidelines of all that. So partly, not necessarily because I was ostracised. I mean, I was bullied at school, as I say, but that was a short period of time at school, and that didn't. I don't really think that stayed with me that much, to be honest with you, like being bullied. I think when I look back, I think I was a target. I could have been a bit more assertive about things and stopped that if I wanted to. A couple of the kids that bullied me weren't really particularly like big lads or anything like that. They were just quite intimidating, and I just sort of let them get the better of me, I think. And, you know, when I look back, they probably taught me a thing or two, you know. And in fact, one of them added me as a friend on Facebook and then sent me a message apologising. And, you know, and I said to him, well, mate, I mean, it's life, innit? Like, you know, that was the pecking order at the time, and I could have always, like, done something about it, but I didn't. So it's kind of helped me to realise that I need to be a little bit more assertive, and I need to know when to sort of, you know, not back down, if you like. So I kind of sometimes look at those things as they're a good thing for me, even though I didn't appreciate them at the time. And you know, I used to sometimes, you know, I used to remember like laying in bed at night worrying about the next day at school, when I could hear the Brookside theme tune going on in the background, thinking, oh God, it's 8:30, you know, I've got to get up for school soon, and all that. So yeah, it wasn't particularly great at the time, but when I look back on it, I don't want to be somebody who's a victim of my past. You know, it's very important to me not to do that, and that's something I've learned through counselling. You know, so like I say, all those things happened, and kind of led to me not thinking that much of myself, and then I kind of, that would put in motion the wheels of I don't know how to put it really, sort of living in a way that isn't very respectful. Like when I was at school, I used to lie to everybody. So because I weren't allowed out, I used to lie about where I'd been. And so I came from a place called Great Wakeford, and there was like Great Wakeford, Little Wakeford and Barlin. And there was a group of kids that I went to school with at Barlin who didn't go to the same secondary school as me. And I went to the same secondary school as a lot of people from Great Wakeford, right? So these kids from Barlin went somewhere else, and they didn't know each other. So at school, I used to say how we'd been, you know, jumping off bales in the barns, and, you know, going out and, you know, drinking kegs of beer that we found in the ditches, and all these things that never really happened at all to this lot, and stupidly used real names when I was saying that. And then eventually, like about a year after that, they all met, and then I was known as Billy Bullshit at school, you know, and rightly so, because I was lying. I was, you know, now when I look back on it, I realise I was, you know, I was a victim of myself, because I felt like, you know, what else could I have done at 14, 15? I didn't know that this is a result of me not having any idea about how to socialise, or not being allowed out, and all that sort of thing. I didn't think it was that. I just thought it was because I was a weirdo. You know, I'm the one that the people pick on. I'm the weird kid. I'm the one that doesn't have any friends. And no, how would I make friends, really? You know, when I weren't allowed out all the time. And it wasn't, like I say, until I got a little bit older that I sort of started to get a little bit more about myself. And I think my interest in music helped, because I made friends that had interest in similar music, and I used to bring in mixtapes. And I used to sit there for hours making these mixtapes to give them, thinking, well, maybe they would like me if I give them this mixtape. You know, and that's how kind of sad it was, I guess, at that point in my life. You know, so obviously these things are all going to feed into, again, like I say, like not being very confident, not being very comfortable, and not being a person who thinks very much of himself. So then obviously I could say, well, you know, why was I sitting at home smoking weed all the time when I was at work? I should have been at work. Why did I find weed in the first place? You know, again, to fit in, because I had a group of mates that smoked weed, and they were like, Mark, do you want a joint? And I was thinking, not really, but go on then, because it might make me a part of the group. And so that was the early years of my life, right? And it's so important to explain to you at this point that I don't look back on all this and think, oh, poor me, God, that was so hard for me and all that. I really don't. I think I'm glad that all that happened. I'm glad it happened, because it's made me into this guy that, okay, I've learned not to lie, right? I'm very honest now. You know, I'm very loyal to people. I'm not going to, you know, I'm not going to stitch people up. There's been a couple of things in my life that I haven't dealt with very well, particularly a friend that I fell out with, or we sort of grew apart, and he was quite a difficult guy to approach, and I don't think I dealt with it in the best way that I could have done. But then when I look back on it, there wasn't a great deal differently I could have done because of his nature. So there was, like I say, there's things that I've done that in my adult life still, but minimal, you know, minimal things. And most of the things that I do now, I conduct myself in the best way that I possibly can. And that is because I've learned how to not do that when I was younger, you know. So the social anxiety thing, you know, sort of not shaving my hair so that I could avoid going to the hairdressers, was a result of me not feeling very good about myself because of the way I was acting. You know, it wasn't because, poor me, I am not a good person and all that. It was, look, man, you don't deserve that much self-respect at this point in your life, because you could have gone to work. You know, like when I phoned in sick, you know, I go in the next day and everyone was like, how were you? I was like, oh, mate, I was on the toilet every 10 minutes. It was just bullshit. Like, I wasn't on the toilet every 10 minutes. You know, I was smoking a joint every 20 minutes in my pants playing my Dreamcast. You know, that was the truth. But obviously I couldn't tell them that. So there's that sense of shame about that, you know. And all that stuff, yes, I could say it's my parents' fault for the way they treated me. But what good's that? Where's that get me? You know? Right, I'm going to stop this here and then do part 3. So hold on.